I'd like to welcome everyone to the Buffalo Bills Center of the West today. My name is Eric Rossborough. I'm an associate librarian and senior cataloger here at the McCracken Research Library. Very excited about today's show. Not going to talk too long because we've got a bit of a long one, but I can assure you that it is absolutely worth it. Today we have not only Bob Richard, but we have Robyn Cutter, Archivist at Park County Archives. We'll be talking about filmmaking in the Cody area. Before we get started, I'd like to remind everyone that our next event is on December 21st, and the topic will be the history of Pahaska Teepee. I think Bob is once again enlisting outside talent for that, and it's going to be really interesting because it's a really interesting place you all may know. I'd like to remind everyone about something very important to the Center of the West, and that is the benefits of membership. Members support the general operations of the center, without which we could not function, and for I don't know what the sum is, but probably not too much, but you get to come in free anytime you want, not just for the movies, and you get to be part of a very awesome group, and that group is the Buffalo Bills Center of the West family. So you can sign up for that at the front desk. We also have brochures at the front, and we do have people at the front who will be willing to talk to you about the benefits of this. And with that, I give you Bob Richard.
Thank you. Can you all hear me all right? I'm seeing a couple more come in, and welcome. It's always good to see all of you and joining us. Today I've twisted Robyn's arm to help me research and find, and she did such a good job that I'm going to let her lead us today in sharing all the information that she has dug up over the last few months. And hopefully you will enjoy it. And there will be questions after the talk and the show. But also, before you leave, if you have suggestions, I'm going to be talking with the McCracken staff on Monday, and we're going to talk about local lore in 2024. If you have suggestions or thoughts of subjects, give them to me before you leave, please. I would appreciate that.
Tell them you're going to be signing books.
Oh, Eric keeps me on track. It's part of his job here at the museum. I also will be upstairs after the talk to sign books, that type of thing. But thank you for being here, and I'm turning it over to Robyn.
The word movies immediately brings to mind the image and magic of Hollywood. All the glitz, glamour, and romance, but Hollywood wasn't always the capital of dreams. Among those places that wished to be a mecca for actors and film companies was the town of Cody. Always a progressive thinker and doer, Colonel Cody formed a moving picture company in 1913. Colonel Cody also had the Prince of Monaco's Visit filmed, which you can see upstairs, that film. It is his foresight and use of a new technology that has left us with moving pictures of these pieces of our past. Despite a willing populace and spectacular scenery, Cody could not make itself the film capital of the country. Harsh weather conditions and the remoteness of some film locations were not conducive to the growing film industry. William Cody became a resident of Wyoming around 1896. He became the first Western motion picture star in 1893 with Congress of the Rough Riders, filmed in Boston. Cody actively encouraged the idea of film production on historic location in the Great Plains states and the Rocky Mountain region. In 1910, he combined his own Wild West show with Pawnee Bill's Far East show and produced 2 films. William Cody is known to have performed in 9 motion pictures during the years 1894 to 1915. These can easily be looked up online. Pre-1900 productions were mostly very short films from Edison and Essanay and others showing trains, tourists at Yellowstone, and other similar black and white silent subjects. However, most of them were under 1 minute. The legendary Buffalo Bill was portrayed in at least 32 films made from 1922 through 1976. These films were set in Wyoming, Montana, Kansas, Nebraska, and the Dakotas. Cody Street served as a setting for the 1913 film Indian Wars, showing some of Cody's early false front buildings. They were shot in the fall of 1913. It also included scenes with the Prince of Monaco and Crow Chief Plentycoo at the T.E. Ranch. It was shot by the S&E Company in Chicago, which was one of the largest of the moving pictures producing companies of the time. The Indian battles filmed at Pine Ridge Reservation in South Dakota were staged by Buffalo Bill Cody. The film company took the pictures, but the films were controlled by Colonel Cody's Historical Pictures Company, which he organized in Denver. So here's one of the pictures, Buffalo Bill there on the white horse. And this was part from the Indian Wars movie. And in Cody with the false fronts. And this was part of the film crew in 1918. The Wild West Show and the Cody Stampede gave plenty of experience to the future stuntsmen and actors of the ever-popular Western. The Burns brothers, Bob, Fred, and Edward, Yakima Canute, and Leonard Morris performed and went on to pursue careers on the silent screen. The Burns family moved to Cody in the early 1900s and built a big 2-story building on Beck Avenue. They had 11 children and ran a liquor establishment. 3 of the children, the Burns brothers, ultimately became Hollywood Western movie actors. Robert was a 4-horse driver, Roman-style trick rider, in the Buffalo Bill's Wild West and Pawnee Bill shows. He had also been a famous fancy roper and rider for the 101 Ranch. In 1911, after working the Universal and Videograph studio ranches, Bob got his break playing a supporting role in the first Western of the Videograph Film Company, Billy the Kid. In 1913, he performed in 4 movies, and in 1915, in The Birth of a Nation. In the fall of 1916, Bob was severely injured in one of his daring stunts for a Griffith film and spent the better part of 1917 in the hospital recovering from near mortal wounds. Bob married his nurse after leaving the hospital. In 1918, he was to become one of the most picturesque lead in the film serial of The Wolfville Tales, and this was a series with several episodes. He continued to perform in 21 more movies through 1933. Robert Burns died in 1947. His brother, Fred Burns, arrived in Hollywood in 1911, and like his younger brother Bob, worked as a studio cowboy. He performed in 45 movies from 1915 to 1940, with the last film playing with Roy Rogers in one of Zane Grey's movies. Fred died in 1955. The third brother, Forrest, or as known Edward Burns, Ed Burns, little is known about. However, he did perform in 18 movies between 1915 and 1927. Cody's premier photographer, Fay or F.J. Hiscock, also embraced the new technology of the moving picture and started filming whatever he felt would be of interest to the public. Also filming early was Powell photographer A.G. Lucier around Cody and Yellowstone National Park. One of the things I read about F.J. Hiscock is that he closed his photo studio in 1916 to specifically work on filming movies. And there's a picture of A.G. Lucier. Ed Boland, who formerly had a leather shop in Cody from 1919 to 1921, across from the Irma Hotel, which is the picture you see him on the horse there, was in Hollywood making Western trappings for all the stars of filmdom who played in Western pictures. So here, the Boland shop in Hollywood, he was a silversmith also, as well as doing saddles. So like for Roy Rogers, all the silver and everything on the horse and on him, that's what Ed Boland did. But he started out here in Cody. The Hellcat, filmed in 1918 with actress Geraldine Farrar, was shot entirely in Cody on the Hargraves Ranch. This ranch is on Cottonwood Creek, and it's now Bob McMillan's ranch, who happens to be sitting there with his family in the back. And so you're welcome to talk to him afterwards, but we'll be showing the silent movie that we're showing was also filmed entirely on his ranch. Around the turn of the century, William Cody was interviewed by a female reporter of the Boston Post. This woman was Carolyn Lockhart. A short time after that interview with William Cody, she moved to his hometown of Cody, Wyoming in 1904. In 1916, Carolyn Lockhart had sold her first movie property, The Man from the Bitter Roots, to the Fox Film Company. Carolyn Lockhart, first president of the Stampede Board and noted Western novelist, supplied many a plot for the silent screen. 3 of her novels, The Fighting Shepherdess, The Dude Wrangler, and The Man from the Bitter Roots, were made into movies. Some of the top stars of the era had roles in these productions, such as Colonel Tim McCoy, who had a ranch in Thermopolis and brought the Indians in from the reservation to perform with him. She was a nationally acclaimed writer of Western literature. Like Louis L'Amour, she received various offers from the film industry to turn her novels into movies. Only 3 made it to the silver screen. The others did not always meet with Carolyn's approval. Tim McCoy acted in Carolyn Lockhart's The Dude Wrangler. A film studio was set up on Tim McCoy's Owl Creek Ranch in Thermopolis, where all the outdoor work was filmed. The ranch is currently owned by Elijah Cobb, who's sitting over here. Emerson Howe, a Chicago writer, an avid outdoorsman and hunter, had been in the Bighorn Mountains of Wyoming in 1896 and through the Yellowstone and Tetons in 1900. He spent a fair amount of time in Cody, Wyoming. In 1922, he created the epic novel, The Covered Wagon, which became a Western silent film of the Oregon Trail in 1923. In 1926, The Devil Horse with Hal Roach was filmed here on the Morris Ranch on the North Fork. Did you want to comment on that? This is the Fred Morris Ranch, an early picture of that up on the North Fork.
Fred Morris came to this country right after 1900, started one of the first dude ranches on the North Fork, and he was a shipbuilder on the East Coast during World War I. And then when World War II came along, he went to the West Coast and built Liberty ships going to the Pacific. And his son, Leonard Morris, took over the ranch, and the ranch was just west of Trout Creek. And the Broken H, which was his brand, is still there. But they had one of the first swimming pools in northern Wyoming, outdoor pool, and it was strictly cold water coming from the North Fork.
Here are a couple pictures from the movie. In the center, sitting down there, is Yakima Kamut, and he's filmed in many movies. This is up there on the North Fork. Ned Frost, uncle to Bob Richard, also filmed a great deal. He even went to California to find out what was the best film camera to buy, and most notably filmed The Last Wilderness with Howard Hill, who was the world's best archer in 1932 and 1933. This was a bear with Ned's camera. and Howard Hill in The Last Wilderness. And there's Howard Hill. Most probably people remember him with Robin Hood. The call of the movie was answered by many of the townspeople when they formed the Cody Players in 1925 under the direction of Carl Theobald to produce their very own Western, The Rider of the Painted Horse. This movie was filmed again at the Hargraves Ranch. When finished, it was taken back east for production purposes. A buyer could not be found for the entire film, but several sections were sold. And again, that's Will Richard, uncle to Bob. And here, part of the cast, and many of these children here are part of the Borner family. You know Gail Burl Churchill, sorry. It's some of her family. And some of the cast. Oops. On a final note, I found a letter in some of Bob Richards' personal collection, and there was a letter written by his uncle Will Richard, who was the villain in this movie, that he wrote to W.R. Lee, one of the famous painters, and a lot of his work is here in the museum. It said, "We had a lively directors' meeting last Sunday in which we found our movie director Theobald sort of misrepresenting things. He got hostile and is nursing a fine pair of black eyes today. He blames me. Huh. I bet he'll shy all around the next time he thinks of lying to a Westerner. They say he is in critical condition, maybe just gossip, broken jaw, etc., ribs torn loose, going to sue me. Oh well, such is life. Will Richard." One last thing is I am working on right now to do another program on all of like the movie history of Cody, over 100 years of it. There's actually quite a bit of people who were either filmed in movies or stuff that has been filmed here, and then also tying in TV shows that a lot of people like Harry Jackson, Millward Simpson, other people that were in different TV shows, and as well as maybe some of the iconic magazines and stuff like that. So that will be coming. I'm doing a shorter version next month for the Historical Society, but I will be working on that I can do a general publication of it. Okay, with that, we can start the movie. about 400 Cody people in this film. They scaled it down. It initially was 3 hours in length, and then when they were taking it to New York, they had to cut it down a couple different times, and it ultimately resulted in this 50-minute film. And the other thing I wanted to mention is Mac Frost couldn't be with us today, but he really did a fabulous job of syncing the music to this movie. So thank him when you see him.
Thank you very much for being with us, Robyn, and hopefully we'll see you in December for the next one. But if you have any suggestions, please come down and share with us. Thank you very much for being here today.